Commissioner Bedard.
Here.
Commissioner G.
Here.
Commissioner Fawcett. Everyone's present. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Now for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we now have public comments for anything not on the agenda.
I'm checking. And just for anybody, we do have one member of the public, a couple members of the public. If anybody does have public comment for items not on the agenda, please raise your hand. I do not see any hands raised. 1 second. I do not see any hands raised.
All right, thank you. We'll move to the first item for consideration are the minutes. Are there any questions or corrections regarding the minutes from the previous meeting? All right, can I have a motion?
I move that we accept the minutes as presented for the special meeting of May 4th, 20, is that right? Yeah, it should be June 1st.
But is it's wrong on the,
In the agenda, but
oh, the actual, okay, the agenda is wrong, but the minutes are correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do I have a second? Okay, can we call for the vote?
Okay, Chair Crane,
Yes.
Chair Carter, Commissioner Carter, sorry.
Yes.
Commissioner Wheeler,
yes.
Commissioner Fawcett.
Yeah.
Commissioner Bedard,
Yes.
Commissioner G.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 2 for consideration, the commission changes. And this is to discuss the commission changes adopted by City Council on June 27th. Those are attached. Are there any questions or comments?
So I just wanted to talk about what directly will affect the Library Commission in these changes and the sorry.
The document that is in the packet, it highlights the changes from what the commissions were before to what has now been changed. So for the Library Commission, the main changes are the number of commissioners will go to 5 from 7. And there will be 4 commissioners from Los Altos and 1 from Los Altos Hills. The other major change is the number of meetings. So the currently we have monthly meetings, obviously, and that is getting changed to every other month. And there will be no meetings in July or December. So none of the commissions will meet in July or December. When you do that, sort of try to do that every other month thing, it doesn't really work out evenly if we can't have meetings in July or December. So I talked to the city clerk today, and she suggested that the commission just discuss what you would like that schedule to be. And these are regular meetings. There can be 6 in a year. So perhaps you would have 2 in a row at one point during the year. And so that's something for the commission to discuss, and what the schedule of meetings will be going forward. At this point, those are the only major changes. No commissioners are going to be asked to leave commissions as people come to the end of their terms, the commission will right size, and then all new commissioners will come in September, except for where there are expired or unexpired, where people leave in the middle of the term. So people, and even if you're only done the first half of your first term and you could still apply for your second term, if you still want to do that, you can, even if the commissions, if we still have more than 5. So they're just gonna wait for that to naturally sort of occur, at least with our commission. I know that that's true. Anybody have any questions about those changes? Okay. The other things to note is that the commissioner handbook is going to be, is on the agenda for Tuesday. So they're making some changes to the handbook, and those changes, yeah, I think they're mostly small. We talked about it a little bit today, but I think they're mostly small changes, but you'll be able to see that in the packet for the meeting on Tuesday. And then there's going to be some further discussion on August 22nd at a study session about a few other topics. One of them is the council liaisons, and the other one is changes to the rules around subcommittees. So those are the topics that are currently scheduled for the study session on August 22nd. And the handbook goes on this Tuesday coming up. So if you're interested in looking at info, that would be already out on that agenda. Any questions? Somehow having this microphone makes me more nervous. Yeah, it's fine. Okay.
Should we talk about months
Yeah.
tonight?
Yeah, I mean, you can do that tonight. We have it on the agenda as a discussion item, and you can make a motion if you want to decide what months you want to have meetings in, your regular meetings, and it should still be a cadence like the first Thursday of the month at 6:30, but which months you want that to be. One thing I think we could keep in mind is that the commissions reorganize in October. So we want to make sure to have a meeting in October, and it might be good to have a September meeting, since there's a lot. So.
So I'll go first. I just listed out the months. And it seemed if we cross out July and December, we could have meetings January, March, May, August, and October. Now that's only 5, so we could figure out where 6 should go, or if you agree with that. I recall that February seemed to be a month that was difficult because a lot of people were traveling. So that seems to make sense. If we're out in January, it makes sense to make sure we're back in, if we're out in December, it makes sense to be back in January. But that's a suggestion. Does anyone else?
Yeah, and for the, I'm sorry. And maybe for the 6th meeting, like Mary Jo suggested, we could do October. Or, and
Said October.
we could change it when, wait a minute, does every September do terms expire? Do people's terms expire every September?
Yes.
Okay, so if we did the 5 that you suggested and October?
That's September. She suggested
She said
October.
September. Oh, I'm sorry.
She said October, but not September.
I
so-
got it. But if,
Is it
No.
expire at the beginning of the month or the end?
I believe it's the end of September.
I was just picking up on her suggestion
Yes.
because September is when people leave and October is when new people come in. So that might,
That's a good point. And August is also, I think, a time for a lot of travel.
true.
So if we do that, it's January, March, May, August, September, October. That would leave 2 months at the end of the year without a meeting.
Okay, it's Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Any other comments, thoughts? We can try it and change it, right?
Yeah, you can also always, call a special meeting.
Okay,
Like if in October, something huge is happening and you feel like you have to meet in November, you can call a special meeting.
okay. All right, do we wanna? Okay,
Does someone,
I'll make a motion that our meetings going forward will be January, March, May, August, September, and October. And we'll continue to meet on the first Thursday of each month.
I second that.
okay, take a vote. Chair Crane?
Yes.
Vice Chair Wheeler?
Yes.
Commissioner Carter?
Yes.
Commissioner Fawcett? Commissioner Bedard?
Yes.
Commissioner G?
Yes.
Unanimous? Passes?
I wanted to also continue, or can we continue the discussion on this? And I'm interested in talking about the subcommittee issue because I'm just curious, and there's nothing, I guess, to discuss right now. Our recent experience with the NCLA and having them, ask us to put things together, it has been really beneficial to have a future subcommittee or a subcommittee work on it. Because my concern is without that, it could be seen as random members of the commission putting in information, at least. And I'll be honest with you, I felt a little more comfortable that it was the Futures Committee speaking on behalf of the commission. Even though because of timing, we weren't able to bring it to the full commission. So again, I'm concerned if we don't have a subcommittees, even if we have 2 people, that some of the asks will be very difficult for us to deliver.
I agree with that, because there's so much kind of prep work and research and that you have to do in order to present something coherent and thought out, well thought out, or at least you hope it's well thought out to the commission as a whole to consider. I don't know how that would be achieved without the subcommittee, and even if it's just 2, it's better than trying to discuss something for the very first time in a commission meeting and knowing you're not going to be able to talk about it again until at least, 2 months probably, whereas subcommittees can meet as often as necessary to get a board product done.
I agree. I agree with everything you just said. Subcommittees work very well.
Yeah, I haven't really given it a lot of thought. Well, with only 2 on a subcommittee, is it? Yes, there's going to be a lot more work by the sound of it for each member of the subcommittee. Yeah, but does that have to change now, or was, I can't remember, was 6 on the committee? Can we stay at 3, or does it?
Yeah, it will depend on what the size of the commission is, what the size of the subcommittees will be. It just has to be, less than a quorum. And like I said, there's nothing decided yet. It's the 22nd is a study session for council to discuss it. So, that would be good to feedback to council.
Do I need to use this?
Yes, because, Carol.
Oh, sorry. So first off, the fact that the number is 5, the subcommittees will be 2. That's it. You can't have
When
otherwise.
we dropped to 5 and 6, I think it's still.
By attrition. Yeah.
I'm really disturbed by a lot of what went on, in getting this together. I really feel that Molly essentially became a subcommittee of its own, and sort of privatized some of the work that was done on the proposal. We were kept in the dark. The function of the commission really is, I don't have a problem with the current function of the commission and what we do, and I'm not gonna, up and quit. But I want I need to tell people my concern on it, and that it's a private-public thing. The Molly meetings, and I don't mean to pick on Molly, I'll pick on any volunteer organization, can meet whenever they want. They can do whatever, they can go for it. And perhaps that amount of flexibility is needed to get things done in this city. But I think people need to be aware of that. And that, bringing the commission down to 5, or 7, or whatever we are, is really, we as a commission need to look at what our role is. And, what we can actually do within the format of the commission. And if it's kosher and right to be also on the commission and doing something else, that, suits what we believe in the library, if it's to build the library or to work, on another, organization. So I just wanted to go on the record saying that, but in my mind, we'll have to work with two people in the subcommittee. We've got great brain power on this commission. It's not going to be hard to find 2 people to work together to come, to answer questions and to do things, but we are going to be limited. It's not, not that we were unlimited in the past.
I don't know about other commissions, but the library commission does depend a great deal on its subcommittees. I know that they are standing subcommittees. They're focused on a particular topic area, but it has served us well so far. Are you thinking that the guidelines that will come back are going to be yes on subcommittees, no on subcommittees, or something in between?
I have no idea. And I know that that's why council's having a study session to look at it and get feedback and find out what's happening. There's lots of different kinds of subcommittees with different commissions. And so I think they're just trying to put some guardrails around them. I think they've gotten difficult for some volunteers as well as some staff. And so they just want to look at the function of them, how they work, and make some decisions about that. And it's because the study session hasn't happened yet, nothing has been decided.
Right.
So I don't know what will happen.
So I think going forward, once the commission is constituted in October, there would have to be time set aside to decide on what are the subcommittees, whether they are the same ones that we've had for the last 2 or 3 years, or do we need new ones given basically the pressing topics for the library and the commission. And then secondly, the pairing up, right? I don't know whether we'll have just 5 commissioners, 6, or what have you. So that's going to be probably almost half a meeting, if not more.
Now, I just want to bring something up that actually is a real advantage to this, is that if you have a subcommittee on the library commission, and by the way, the library commission subcommittees were awesome. I mean, everybody here did great work, and we didn't spend money, we weren't crazy, we didn't do insane things that got other people in trouble. But the subcommittees can work with outside organizations. I.e., you'd have 2 people from the library commission and working with somebody else. So it's not, we can think of it as limiting, but it really isn't at the end of the day. We only limit ourselves on this one. I do.
Mayor Meadows, do you want to say something?
You want me to provide some context?
And with all the caveats that Mary Jo has offered already. So nobody's questioning the value of the work of the subcommittees. I think the underlying concern is around the Brown Act. So let's take a 7-member commission that you've been operating. So I think you're at 6 right now, right? There's nobody absent, it's just 6. So, okay, yeah, so, but your quorum is still based on 7. So if you have 2 subcommittees, they're each of 3 people, those subcommittees in and of themselves are just fine. But if one person is on both subcommittees, you then have a Brown Act violation. Because you then have 4, potentially, if you're mixing the content of both subcommittees by one member, you've then gone from, you have a 4th person who knows everything that went on both those. So the city attorney will have to spell out some of her concerns. They're legal concerns, they're not about the work of the subcommittee. And we've, historically, we've run into problems, not necessarily with commissions, some ad hoc committees. But the example of NCLA, talking about a committee, what that was a different thing. It was kind of a blended ad hoc committee that might involve a member from NCLA, a member or 2 from the commission, a member from Molly, whatever. That's an actual Brown Act committee that would operate under rules. It wouldn't be a subcommittee per se. It'd probably be like a task force or an ad hoc subcommittee, or I don't know what you call these things. So these are the kind of discussions. It's not meant to slight how we worked in the past, but it does highlight that there are concerns that if you have one person that's on 2 of these committees and information inadvertently is transferred, just because we all like to share, some more than others, right? Like me. And so anyway, so that's what the concern is driven by. It's not about subcommittees aren't an effective way to get things done. It's just that we have to provide the proper format so we're not violating the Brown Act. That's my understanding. We could see something else in August as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, as recently as last week, Los Altos Hills was advertising for a new library commissioner. Does anyone actually put them in the picture here, or is it just an oversight on their part?
It's, I'll contact Deborah. I don't know. She hasn't been made aware of the changes. I will make sure that she is aware of the changes. Thank you for letting me know that.
Thank you. I think that clarification, Mayor Meadows, was helpful. And yeah, I just wanted to raise that it's been helpful to have the subcommittees, given the kind of work we do and the ability of people to go down deep and in person. Because I know that there's been a lot of work. Yeah. Thank you. Any other comments? Any questions or comments from the public?
Checking. I do not see any hands raised.
All right, hearing nothing more, we'll move on to the next discussion item, and that is item number 3, NCLA surplus. Discuss the NCLA surplus in response to the future subcommittee letter. So I put this on after meeting, after a meeting with the NCLA. First was and we've included it all in the packet. There's a letter that the future subcommittee presented to NCLA, which NCLA then showed with their attorney, and they received legal advice, which is public. It's in the packet. And I do believe that we have are you prepared to share that?
Pierce.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
We can, so Pierre put together a very brief slideshow just to help walk us through the highlights of the decision. And so we'll be sharing that, and I think, and so Pierre, do you want to?
Essentially,
This was done by the future subcommittee, wasn't it? Just to be clear, what we did is I just put each question on the slide just that we have it. And the first one is question 1, does the term uphold the level of service enable the NCLA to spend funds to maintain or enhance services? And absolutely, if we need to spend money on maintaining the hours or doing everything within the measure, it's in there. Question 2 goes a little deeper and looks at may the NCLA spend funds on interior renovation aligned with the county's strategic initiatives? We and I'm gonna Julie and Nelvin and I we believe we're saying probably yes. If we need to, and there's a great discussion in the letter, so that's the answer I believe we got. And we can talk about that, Julie. Question 3 is, it gets a little deeper. May the NCLA spend funds on an expansion of the building to address additional space and service needs? Believe it or not, likely yes, but it's got to be consistent with the answer to question 2, i.e., there's got to be a very, very, very good and solid reason to do it. But again, we have a legal answer that delves into each and every one of these things, menus, what have you. Question 4 is the big one. May the NCLA spend funds to replace the current structure and build a new library? And like that one, I guess probably not unless there it's got to be a cataclysmic type thing where there's a need to absolutely get a new library, and we don't know that we can identify that, but the lawyer gave us that information. Finally, we have this last chart where we want to recommend baselining the services between 2010 and 2023. Summarize the needs assessments to highlight the top 10 needs identified. And actually, a lot of this has already been done by the subcommittees. Nelvin's presentation, which has been sent to the NCLA in the past, details this out. And we've got good work on that. The next one is really to the NCLA, and this isn't our decision, but really, I believe, and we believe as a subcommittee, that they should hire a consultant to assess the current library interior. And then look at defining a few viable paths forward should there be any. Again, very simple, more like a checklist of where we stand vis-a-vis the ability to spend NCLA's money and for what purposes within the library. We hope, we did the work really to help the county and the NCLA get some legal backing beyond what we got for the Friends Corner. That we can, march safely with and feel confident in proposing, as proposals come forward as to where they fit on the continuum of the questions. And that was basically what we wanted to do. And I think we achieved that very quickly. I was actually shocked when I walked in and I saw the legal assessment already done. It was like, what? Thank you.
I think what was important in the decision was under item number 2, the attorney said that whatever plan is undertaken must be consistent with preventing services from being reduced or eliminated or responding to a change in circumstances and or operational need that is necessary to continue the same level of services. So one example they provided is that improving the library building in order to ensure ADA compliance, which touched with mine, is necessary to continue library operations. That was an example. And throughout the opinion, it seemed that the opinion kept referring back to that, some language like that.
And the strategic plan.
Yes. Any other questions or comments? Okay, any thoughts for, so I think the next step is the Futures Committee is going to continue to work on this and put together a proposal as we outlined to go to the county to request a feasibility study with regard to certain options those aren't the final options, but some options aligned with this, plan. And so I think that that's our next step. Does anybody have any questions, concerns, thoughts? Yes.
Well, I want to pose a question to the commission and to the people is, do we need a consultant? Do we need someone to come in and actually do an assessment of the interior? Because fundamentally, assessing the interior, where we stand and where we're at, Rose, whether with Open Plus or anything else, is really the first step to just see where to go. My opinion. I don't know.
Wouldn't that be something that the county would be best at answering that question? And if so, if the answer is yes, getting the consultant, it's like, who's paying for all this is a different issue, but I would think that that would be left in your hands most effectively.
Sure, happy to address. So good evening, Jennifer Weeks, Building Librarian. So absolutely, the county has had a number of feasibility studies done over the past, I'm gonna say, maybe decade or a little bit longer. So all of those are public documents and available. We've made available to, I'm happy to do so to all of you. So there's a lot of work already done there. In addition to, thank you for having the special meeting. We continue as a district to move forward our strategic plan and trends in spaces and library services. So we do have a lot of the groundwork already done. One of the discussion points to your question of do we need a consultant? I think we need review of the data that we already have, and there could certainly be some expertise regarding architecture or those kind of things that would help advise best next steps on that. So I would say we have a lot of work already done. Someone termed the phrase a feasibility study of feasibility studies. So that is possible. I do feel like we have some information we want to start with rather than going back to ground, to zero. And we have a lot of resources around the district, as well as certainly we could look at further. I don't know to the point exactly who will pay for what, but we could certainly talk to you about that going forward. Does that help?
Any other questions or comments? Sally?
Yeah. You were right there.
I was just gonna add, since President Schmidt is not here today, wear my NCLA hat as vice president. So I do think that this time it was pretty clear that the NCLA majority anyway wanted the Library Commission to take the lead on this exploration, because most of us felt that the NCLA really was way beyond its skis or remit leading some of these efforts. So what the effort would lead to is some options that would come forward, and NCLA would simply be asked the question, do you think your surplus, and there will be work done on what that surplus is, because Chuck's gonna look at some numbers, and we don't want to go shopping today and then find out we ran out of money in 2029 or something. So the point is, the question to be asked of the NCLA in the future, and this sort of cross committee thing could work on it, is what levels of funding would NCLA feel justified based on legal and other assessments. So NCLA wouldn't be leading this effort, that would sit here.
Thanks, that's what I understood, that we would provide options at various levels.
Any other questions, thoughts?
Yeah, I don't want to get ahead of myself. It seems like the most critical thing for this commission, the county, the community librarian to focus in on is, look, if we have to open this thing up and do something with the library interior, what are the most critical needs that we have to stage? And within that, we can then say, what's nice to have, but we have to have. And can it be accomplished with the interior that we have now? How much work is it going to take? So once we have a very clear idea as to what we want to accomplish, at that point, we can bring in an architectural firm or someone to basically develop some concepts. And that, I think that's the intent of that last page that Pierre showed. Does that make sense?
Maybe very premature question to ask, but how do you keep the library services up and running if we are to do a renovation of the interior? Do we have, some, game plan? Is there a way to keep going?
No, there's always game. So currently, we are renovating our Campbell Library, which is actually the same size as our library. It's undergoing a full renovation, $22 million. And we have opened what we call the Campbell Express Library. So in partnership with the city, we opened a mini library at their community center. And it has, it doesn't have the seating or the technology, but it has a lot of materials, it's staffed, open 6 days a week. So that's one example of one model that we use. Others rent out old supermarkets and put a library in there. That's obviously a more expensive option. And for Campbell particularly, wanted to preserve the funding for the building itself. So there are always lots of options as to how we can continue to provide services for the community. And we'll continue, we've always looked at different options.
I was thinking the same thing. Any other questions or thoughts?
Let's move on to the next item for consideration. We simply put this on because we didn't know what was gonna happen, but this is the main library patio project. And so discuss city council agenda item from June 27th meeting regarding the patio project. And I don't know, Cindy, I didn't know if you wanted to talk about this. I know it's a little out of order. It's just the patio project, and it was just to put a marker here for us to discuss sort of the outcome. Or if that Karen wants to. Well, I guess, so the city council did approve, what was the language? They approved the project to move forward. And it is, what was the language?
It's a little, I know what the intent, maybe not the exact language.
Yeah, that's what I intend.
Intention fine.
Sure, sure, sure.
To move forward.
Absolutely.
Further discussion.
Absolutely. Sorry, so, yeah, I'll actually pass over to Rose. So really,
Okay, so, from the city council meeting, the contact was, unanimously voted to move forward to the next steps for the design phase. And so this is where we are working with the stakeholders and with the city to submit an application for the actual design. And so, that's where we're at right now, and we're trying to figure out the next step.
The mayor of the minutes. Yeah, so the packet just came out this afternoon for those who are interested in the draft minutes regarding this item. So there's a motion by Daly, seconded by Weinberg to approve sending the Los Altos Library patio project to the Development Services Director
for review and necessary approvals, with further direction to preserve and protect and include mitigations if necessary, and require pre-application study session design review pursuant to suggestion 1478.040 Los Santos Municipal Code, and that was passed unanimously.
Yeah. And there were speakers there who spoke on behalf of, I guess, the orchard as well as the fountain. So it's a moment. So any comments or questions? This is really more just an informational item.
And all of the information that was in the packet for that meeting is in your packet, so you can see those.
No, thank you for your, thank you.
Just a big congrats. That's it.
Really, those little cute little kids.
Okay. All right, anything else? All right, let's move on to informational items, so Molly?
Hello, everyone. Regarding Lolly, let me get back to my notes. We met on June 13th, which is always, which is always right after the Library Commission meeting. And as you can imagine, the majority of our time was spent talking about the patio project, what kind of information we needed to have, and what we wanted to propose going forward and getting ourselves ready for the council meeting. And our next meeting is this next Tuesday, July 11th. The draft agenda has gone out to the board, and the draft final agenda will be going out to the board and the guests in the next day, hopefully tonight. And again, it's really our primary agenda topic is all about the patio. We have been looking at other things, but I don't think they're of huge interest to you. It's about our branding and making sure we have the right logos in the right places, things like that. Also a little bit more of the housekeeping of how and where do we store things and how do we communicate to each other. So there's this big public presence, and then there's this other heavy lift that we're doing internally. And we are working on our strategic plan, and we hope to have that done in the next couple of months. So we will be working with Jennifer and Rose on our next steps. One of the big things that we have to work out is how to take in a very large amount of money. We've done this before, but all the people who were involved with the previous very large donations are no longer on the board or have passed away. So we don't have a lot of, well, actually there's one person left, but she wasn't really involved in the finances. So we have to relearn what the group as a whole had known many years ago. You can probably imagine taking in $500,000 carries a lot of responsibility and weight to make sure that that money is protected and that it is highly visible, that it is spent the way it's supposed to be spent. So that's right here in my brain right now.
Any questions?
Please ask questions. Yeah, I don't know what you don't know, and I don't know what you want to know. So
All right. So I was sort of a pain about the fountain, and I was sort of a pain about the naming rights and stuff like that, but I will remain a pain. I just want you to know, but I support you totally. So
Thank you.
know that, you know, when I'm asking questions that may seem sketchy, it's really, you know, in good faith. But I think that you've got challenges ahead of you. Good luck. And I'm right behind you.
well, the Library Commission is heavily involved in this too. Everything will be coming through the Library Commission. So it's not Lolly as the only driver in this. We're all we're all in the same vehicle together. I agree with you 100% that I've known about the fountain for many years. I've gone out there, I've looked at it, I've looked at the tiles getting more and more covered with the ivy, and wondering what would happen to the fountain, and not ever even thinking about a patio. This is 10, 15 years ago. So I'm actually pleased that the fountain is getting a lot of attention right now. And maybe that attention will give it a spot within the city that will highlight why the fountain was created in the first place. And I suspect it probably won't be a fountain in its future, because, you know, even in the 90s, using water as a fountain was just, it didn't make sense. So there's my 2 cents.
All right, moving on to the Friends. Do we have anybody to speak on behalf of the Friends?
We have an attendee named Ginny.
Jane or Janet?
Ginny, Ginny. Does anybody recognize that as? If Ginny, if you are listening and you are here to speak for the Friends, please raise your hand.
Well, what we can do is we can move to the NCLA, and I am not sure who would speak on behalf of the NCLA. We can come back to the Friends.
There would be no report for Friends. They had their general meeting, and I don't think it was a board meeting, so.
The president just changed that.
Their president changed to Janet Levine is how I know her. She's got her big name, but I know her as Janet Levine because I used to work with her husband. They had a really lovely potluck dinner, which I attended because I'm a member of Friends as well. And they handed out awards for friends who had volunteered more than 100 hours, worked more than 100 hours. There were a number of them. And it was a lovely meeting. So it's a great group.
I'd like to add to that. Is that all right?
Please.
Thank you, Julie. So I also was at that annual meeting, and in addition to what Freddie indicated, the outgoing president, Elaine Dauber, gave an overview of where Friends had been and all the things that the transitions that they've gone through and where they are today. And the crux of her message was, there is always going to be change, there's always going to be tension, and we will get through it, and for the betterment of our residents and for our library. So it was really an excellent meeting.
All right, do we want to move on to NCLA update? I know we have a vice president in the audience. Yes, Cindy, does anybody want to speak?
I have a couple of things I wanted to say. So if that's all right, Sally?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, because I can't see heads nodding or anything. You're little tiny people. You're like little Lego people. But much more interesting. So Lolly met on Monday, June 26th. Our next meeting is Monday, August 28th at 5 p.m. So please put that on your calendar. In addition to the big conversation about what can NCLA do with the funds, we also took another look at our finances and our outstanding bills and et cetera. So we're nearly cleaned up with all of our regular finances, and regular reporting is starting to happen. So we're getting a more clear lens into our financial status, which is a great step. We've been in a little bit of chaos these last couple of years, or even more than that, trying to figure out what was due, who was doing what, and now it's all coming together thanks to our leadership.
Did you say was the next meeting 28th?
August 28th at 5, and that's, I think you said Lolly, but that's NCLA.
Yeah, I corrected myself.
Yeah.
I quickly took the hat off.
That's me.
guys, yeah. So I didn't follow, Cindy was Lolly, that was a Lolly update, not an NCLA?
That was NCL.
No, it was NCLA.
Oh, okay, didn't sound so familiar, but, so I wanted to say one additional, well, this ties into what you said about the financial. So the budget, again, for the second meeting wasn't approved. I feel like I'm the budget taskmaster, but it's, not been correct. I think it was much closer to the last meeting, but close is not appropriate for a budget. It only really involves a few items, so we should be able to get it right. And so, that should be top of our agenda when it comes next time. So, because there is some variability in the tax revenue. I mean, the tax revenue is the same year over year, but the number of senior exemptions and the, you know, there's other things like that come in each year. There may be more or less things that come on. And so this budget continued to reflect the same exact amount of revenue. It didn't reflect the exemptions and the final numbers. So I'm sure we'll get it right soon. So that's the only other update I wanted to add. Cindy, is that consistent with your?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
I have a question. Who does the finances? Is there a bookkeeper, a treasurer that is responsible for finance, you know, for doing the budget?
We didn't know they were gonna get their steps in at the initial meeting.
No, I couldn't, so with our former, what would you call her, executive assistant, or we have someone from MRG, and I forget what MRG stands for. And that person used to do, Marcy used to do the budgeting, but I don't think our new person doing it has had any training. And so I'm not sure what help she's getting and where she's pulling her numbers from. So I think that's an issue. So I referred in the last meeting to the study where the net numbers have been audited and show where the senior exemptions are, and, you know, so there is slight variability. Again, it's not a big percent of the total, but we have such a simple budget. There's no excuse for not getting it right. So I don't think she's had the proper training, and I tried to give an explanation at the meeting, and maybe I should reach out and copy President Hill and see if we can get the new MRG person what she needs to finalize the numbers.
I think you said President Hill. Oh, okay.
President Schmidt, not President Hill. Okay. You had your turn.
Yeah, I know, it's hard.
Okay, any other questions, comments? All right, thank you very much. Moving on to the commissions, oral reports and oral reports. So first, it's the district presentation.
Good evening again, commissioners. I just wanted to give you a few highlights from our reports. A few months back, the County Board of Supervisors gave a referral to the county libraries to work with behavioral health services around the opioid epidemic, really within our county, but within our world. And many public institutions, public libraries, school districts, stock the naloxone, which is the nasal Narcan spray that reverses an overdose. So working with the California Department of Health, the Board of Supervisors, and Behavioral Health Services Department, we're hosting these awareness events at every single one of our libraries, beginning actually this weekend in Milpitas. So at these events, there will be a specialist from behavioral health, Supervisor Smidian will be joining us here on Los Altos, And all of the attendees will become educated about kind of fentanyl, other, the opioid crisis happening in our county, in our nation, how you can reverse this with this drug, Narcan, and everyone who goes through this training will actually receive a dose of Narcan. It is really about education. That's the library's role. It's about a public place that we want to have available and prepared for emergency situations. 75 of our own staff have been trained in Narcan, including myself. It's actually a very simple thing to administer. It can't hurt you. It can only help you. And so we forever are looking at opportunities to be of service in our communities. Our staff volunteered. Nobody was required to do this. So all of our public desks are now stocked with Narcan, and then we will have these events happening at each of our libraries over the next 3 or 4 months. And the Los Altos Library event will be held on Saturday, August 5th at 1:30 in the afternoon. As I said, Supervisor Schmidt is joining us for that. The other thing I thought you all might find interesting, this is a new resource, our virtual author talks. So recently the library district, of course, has in partnership with Lolly and many organizations, featured live author events at our libraries and in local venues. And now there's a chance to do this virtually. So we've learned a lot over the last few years of having those online events. So there are 3 featured events in your calendar there. And the nice thing about these is if you miss them, they're recorded. So you can visit, take them live, hear the author speak and ask some questions, or you can go back and listen to it at your leisure. So I wanted to point out those 2 highlights. Obviously, lots of other good stuff in our report, but I'm happy to take any questions and then pass it over to Rose for the local news.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer. And those virtual author talks, Freddie and Carol know they will be in the Lolly ad for the town crier. So thank you to Lolly and to Carol and Freddie for helping with that. So for the Los Altos Woodland report, summer reading has been going very well this year. If you saw the presentation for City Council, this was from one of our summer reading programs, Happy Birds. And thanks to the Friends for their generous funding, we had 3 back-to-back programs. So Heidi, our supervising librarian, has been asking performers if they could do more than 1 program if we have a lot of people, because the room can't accommodate everyone who's interested. And with this one, we did have to have them do 3 programs with over 350 attendees. So Happy Birds are very popular, but our other programs are also been very well attended. So we're happy to see people are returning to the library. Our staff also did do a lot of fun outreach to the schools in the community in May. This was before they were out of school, to help promote summer reading and to bring families to the library, and also sign up online if they're traveling for summer reading. And one of the librarians from LASD did feature them on their social media, and this is very, very appreciative. And so those, I just wanted to shout out Pat and Chris, 2 of our wonderful children's librarians. And I also wanted to share, thank you, Freddie, for attending the Los Altos Hills picnic. So this is Freddie there representing as a commissioner to speak to the community, and our librarian Laura, and also Kayon, who also, if you're familiar with our open access, he is one of our regular staff members there. So thank you, Freddie, for attending with our staff. And wanted to show off all the wonderful outreach. Our staff visited 12 schools with 49 classes, 6 assemblies, 1 festival, and they reached 2,244 children and teens in the community. So very proud of all the outreach that they've done to get onto the community. Some of the data that we have, just a numbers there, for you to check out at your own time, but, nothing really surprising. There are some pretty consistent with, the, items checked out. Next, I think we have items checked in, patrons served online, and patrons served, in person. Some highlights of some programs for adult and teen, some of them have passed, but you'll see, we do have the teen craftons coming up and the watercolor workshop for adults and teens. And for children, our summer reading programs for child and marionettes are very popular. Our Sunday craft reunion is actually become very popular. It's a monthly program. And finally, the last slide I wanted to highlight is our story time. So we do now have Italian and Spanish bilingual stories. So we're very lucky to have bilingual staff to be able to provide those story times to the community. So if anyone has questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I mean, public bread.
I was gonna ask, when I was putting together some of the numbers for the UCLA to support, you know, for the growth of the community, it seemed to me that other communities may have recovered more quickly, and more people were coming back to the library than where we were. And specifically, there were some communities that compared pre-COVID numbers to current numbers. And I'm wondering, because I was looking through this and it's all 2022, can we get that comparison? And then we can see, because I think other communities, I mean, their numbers shot back up, and I don't know that ours counts.
Yeah, so I do have those numbers for you. Yeah, we have them for the whole system. So I just haven't put them in the presentation, but I could share. I have some of those numbers. Lynn, who is one of our staff members, has done some amazing stats, and I also owe you some other stats for the comparing 2010. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that would be helpful. If there is something that we could do, that would be great. Thank you. Anything else? Okay, city staff update. I forget. Okay, so, in Park and Rec, we're having a busy summer, and it's been great, and the community is so excited to have us back out and about, and we just had our glorious 4th celebration on Tuesday at Shaw Park. I think we had about 1,500 people come over the course of the day between 10 and 2. It was great. We had the Old Town Band and serenaders playing. It was like a real old-fashioned 4th of July out there. So it was fun. Lots of kids having a good time. We had crafts and activities and games, and it was great. We're also in the middle of our summer concert series. So we've had 3, and there's 3 more to come. They've been very popular. We've had, I'd say, like 500 people show up to each. The first 3 were at Grantford, and now we have, the next one is here at Hillview out in the soccer field, and that's going to be Mercy and the Heartbeats. High octane cover band, all the stuff you love from the 70s, 80s, 90s. And then we'll have another one down at Grant Park, and another one back here after that. So for the next 3 weeks on Thursday nights. We just took a break this week, so that I could be here, because we have the 4th of July celebration. So we have that going on. Summer camp is in full swing, and we're really excited to have those numbers back up to where they've been in the past. So we've got a full, we were able to hire like over about 25 teens to be camp counselors, and we have 25 CITs, which are our counselor in training. So those are under 16, from like 12 to 16-year-olds, to help with the little kids. So that's all back in full swing.
We have another round of family fun days coming up, starting on August 26th. It's gonna be an animal adventure theme. And then we have October 28th, which will be Halloween, and December 16th, which will be a holiday family fun day. This will continue to be super fun, and we again are very grateful for the ongoing support of friends who are co-sponsoring those events with us, and the library who are coming and doing very popular activities in our grand room. And the other thing, just the only other thing I wanted to talk about was Julie actually asked me to talk about this and put it in the packet, that our adult 50+ rideshare program has been approved, the budget for it's been approved to be extended for an additional year. So in the packet, I put in the details of the program. It is for adult 50+ folks who live in Los Altos and Los Altos Hills. And it's basically a reimbursement program. So they can get rides from rideshare companies like Uber and Lyft. And those they have to begin and end within Los Altos and Los Altos Hills, with a few exceptions, which are mostly the major medical centers and hospitals within the general area. So, you know, Stanford and some other hospitals are also included in that. And they just have to fill out a form, send them in, and they get reimbursed. And so I put that information in the packet if that was something you wanted to share or something you're interested in yourself. So that was the last thing I had. Do you have any questions?
Is there
Yes.
cap on the reimbursement?
There is a cap. It is. Let's see. Let's put it on this paper. It's not on here. So I'll find that out and answer that for sure. I think there is. I don't know what it is though. Any other questions?
Yeah, because it was scheduled as sunset, I think in June, or it said it was sunsetting, and I wanted to ask.
It's a great way that people can come to the library.
Right, you basically have a chauffeur to the library, so. Thank you so much. Subcommittee report, it's awareness.
We just continue to work with Rose to produce the ad for services and programs that she puts. Oh. And infrastructure, we're basically on hold. We have pretty much all the information collected for the Woodland Library patio project, including a very professional cost estimate. And so we're just on hold with that at the moment. And we have not identified any other project to work on at this time.
Yeah. Any questions? I guess we don't want to publish naming rights are available for the Woodland. And here. No, I tracks, yeah, okay. Future subcommittee, so we continue to meet, we're gonna meet tomorrow to provide feedback as the unsealing requested, and so we did include that in this packet, and we'll see what we do for the next meeting, which is August 28th. Questions? And then services, we met, one of the things I brought up as a service committee member is that we found very helpful that list that was in previous needs assessment, I think it was 2019, because we just went down that list. And so I don't think we haven't now, we've looked at the strategic plan, it's not listed, I mean, not 2019 is there, but that's done. So I didn't know, was there a plan to get another list of what the community might want? Because that's what we used as services, that was really helpful.
you repeat that?
Yeah, no, that's okay, yeah, it does make sense. No, the 2019 needs assessment, it had a list of things that people wanted. And I've been a member of services, we kind of went down the list, like one of them was a book drop. And so it was like, oh, okay, this is what people want. So is there another list that's gonna come out where people may, you know, I mean, because it's included in the strategic plan, but there was no list.
I could work with you on that.
Okay.
Yeah, because we do have our location-specific action items for the strategic
Okay.
plan. So I could work with you on that.
Okay, yeah, to the extent they're relevant to services, I think we're kind of looking at what we can support and move forward. Is that a fair assessment from the other members?
You know, a big problem is just gathering all the materials, but that would be great, Rose, if we could meet and just go through everything, because I've got stuff from you, from Brian, from Jennifer, from everybody, and just sorting through it and doing triage would be excellent.
We can invite you to the next meeting, maybe. Is that okay? Okay, that'd be great. Anything else? Commissioner Boston? Okay, we're at the end. Request for future agenda items. I would think that we would definitely put, you know, when it's appropriate, the discussion of the subcommittee issue and probably the handbook updates, just so that we can be aware of those.
Yes,
Okay.
that may not be until,
Yeah.
well, the handbook we can go over the handbook. We can put that on the next one, because that will be done, should be done. And the subcommittee issue won't be until, probably September, because it's later in August that, is the study session. But we can put it on the list for
Yeah.
future, yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? No?
Related to the services, it maybe be better in this subcommittee, but we could do maybe to agendize a presentation as to the state of the materials we have regarding the services. So we get everybody just gets a baseline in the materials distributed.
That would be interesting, because maybe we could talk too about on our landing page, having some things attached there. I don't know if that's even possible, but we could talk about that.
Yeah.
Because I think MCLA has something attached to their landing page, and that might be just a nice resting place or something. I don't know. Okay. Okay. All right. Anything else for the good of the order? All right. Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Hang around with the microphone.
So I can hear.